Brendan Rodgers has now taken Celtic to Hampden Park on 12 separate occasions, and he's won at the National Stadium every single time. He'll be back there again next month for the League Cup final, where perhaps his biggest concern will be wearing shoes with slightly better grips than the ones he had on Saturday. This is the Celtic Exchange Weekly. This is Tino. Tonight I'm joined by Miff, James and Paddy as we once again cover all things Celtic. Miff, your take on Brendan Rodgers' latest Hampden triumph.
Hello Tino, hello Paddy, hello James. Yes, it was fantastic and as close to a perfect display as I think we could have hoped for. It was wee bit, I think there was a quiet confidence because we knew we should have beat Aberdeen in the league game, so you were going there thinking, well, if we do, or if we produce the same level of performance, it'll probably be good enough to win the game. Very unlikely you're going to concede another couple of goals to so little possession for the opposition. But actually what we got was just that sort of free-flowing football, and I think it justified the different selection on the Wednesday night. If that's been the thinking behind it, you know, the sports science is involved, getting minutes into other players, but more importantly, resting players that really needed that rest in the midst of a tough schedule, and that's the output you get in a big game. 5:30 kick-off, crackling atmosphere. It was just absolutely brilliant.
You had that luxury, Paddy, where Celtic could rest 6 players, I think it was, during the week, and Aberdeen had a tough game themselves at Pittodrie against Rangers, and they came out on the right side of that result. But there's no doubt Celtic went into this one a lot fresher, eh?
Yeah, they did, but I think there's still an element of some of these players being out for 2 or 3 games as well, coming back into the fold. Callum McGregor being one. It's still a very strong performance from them. Aberdeen will have felt the effects from Wednesday night, no doubt about it. They put everything into it, and were worthy winners in that game as well. But actually, probably when they're at their fittest against us was that first half, and we just ran over them. Yeah. It was a great performance.
James, do you think Rodgers was keen to prove a point over Jimmy Tillene? My take on it, and you're like this, are you still anti-Rodgers? Or can we call you anti-Rodgers?
For life?
I think that'd be fair.
ARFL, anti-Rodgers for life. I think he was getting a wee bit fed up with Jimmy Tillene getting all the plaudits, and he's like, hold on a minute, I'm the top guy in Scotland. That's how it felt to me. And on a few occasions since the 2-each draw against Aberdeen a couple of weeks back, he was asked about that one, and Aberdeen are doing well and they're competing. He's like, we should have won that game. You know, he was quite pointed about the fact that we blew a 2-goal lead at half time to eventually draw 2-each. And I think, I see it in the positive sense, that I think Brendan Rodgers' ego came to the fore on Saturday, and that's a big reason why we got that performance.
I think he'll have been smarting a bit from not winning that game, the league game 2-each. But we absolutely should have. You know, like you said at the top there, it was a strange result for how much possession we had. First half we were so professional, second half we just didn't seem to really turn up. I think part of Rodgers' drive here is that we went out of the League Cup so early last year and he won everything else he competed in domestically. That'll have smarted, especially the manner of that defeat to Kilmarnock, because there was some decisions went against us and all these kind of things, and he was just getting up to speed. He didn't have the team playing his system yet, so they very much are now. He wants to win everything he goes in for, and that's can only be beneficial for us. I don't think there's anything personal with Jimmy Tillene, but he will have been a wee bit like, you know, where's the focus? Where should the focus be on the best team?
And the best guy. Did you allow yourself a wee chuckle when he took a tumble?
Yes, I did.
Was he changed his shoes?
I got home and then heard weights after
brilliant. The Tom Fords.
That's just him. That's just him.
And somebody's put, so he was saying I had Tom Ford shoes on, but they've got no studs on them or whatever. And someone put a picture up saying, "Oh, very good. They're like a grand's worth of shoes, like a regular
he's
pair."
Just
man of the people.
The interesting thing is, so relevant to the slip, he took a bit of the ball at that moment in the game at 3-0 up, frustrated that Celtic had played a slack pass. And I think that Paddy, that emphasises just how driven he was for this game. It was just about half time. The game was already done. It was 3-0, and he was really pissed off at giving up possession cheaply, and that's why he swung the left boot at it.
Yeah, I think you would see that for Brendan Rodgers in any game. I think that's that mentality of a winner. I think you go back to Ange Postecoglou against Raith Rovers. We were very much in control of the game, but he didn't like what he was seeing. There's respecting your opponents as well, and I still think that what Celtic had to do on Saturday was show up and show why they are the best team in the country. We're obviously seeing a lot of debate online about the gulf in budgets. We can get caught up in these arguments if we want, but ultimately on the park we had to show up on Saturday and show what we were about. And I just think that he wants perfection. He's a manager that's always looked for that from any of his teams. And I tell you what, like just having that mindset of keep going until the very last minute, that's what takes you into the games that we're going into tomorrow night against Leipzig and makes you think, hey, we stand a chance here if we really stick to it and we keep going for those 90 minutes as well. So I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. I think there is a place for it in football. And he is an egomaniac, as we all know, but he's our egomaniac and long may it continue.
Yeah. Miff, apart from Brendan Rodgers taking the headlines, the other guy, of course, is Daizen Maeda. 3 goals in the night and 1 assist. I know you're a huge fan, but what more can you say about Daizen?
Well, he's got a nice habit of turning up in big games as well. So I just think what he offers is, and I feel there's been a massive change in the fans' attitude towards him as well. I think there was always one of frustration with him because we were wanting him to be this finished article that had maybe the finesse to go with his pace. But as times went on, we've realised that the good outweighs the bad with him. I think most fans have came to that conclusion. Some people, he might just never be their type of player because he can't maybe do the more technical things at times. But what he offers Celtic and how he allows us to play, it's no coincidence that our best performances will involve him playing in the team. And I just think the return that we've had for him, and you can say the same about Kuhn and Hatate as well, but particularly Maeda, the return we've had from him in terms of goals, assists and work rate, he's just been a phenomenal signing. And it's lovely that he gets days like, because a lot of the time sometimes his work goes unnoticed, but it's lovely that he gets days like Saturday where he is the star of the show, and it's because he's endeavour, his industry and his quality, to be fair, you know, because all of the movement, all of the runs are intelligent. What he's done for Kyogo's goal is intelligence. But I just love him, and it was great. It was great to be there just to see him soak up the adulation.
Yeah, it was another big moment for him, James. But as Miff said, he's now had several big moments for Celtic, and he can be frustrating. But do you know what? I do feel that, you know, it used to be he can be frustrating and delightful in equal measure. I don't think it's equal anymore. I think there's more good than bad from Daizen, and then some.
Just to finish off on that point, it's now almost like a light-hearted chuckle when he does his left-footed cross out the park.
Because you know there's like
before it used to be like, boo, and you know, that sort of really frustrating. Now it's just a sort of it's Daizen, what's he like?
Did you boo him?
Not
just
me.
boo him?
Not me.
That's out of order.
Not me.
I'll give you some stats about Daizen, yes, but about Celtic's front three for the season so far. So Maeda played 14 games, 9 goals, 3 assists, 12 goal contributions in total. Nicholas Kuhn, who's absolutely flying, I thought his goal was brilliant as well. 15 appearances, 7 goals, 10 assists, so 17 goal contributions from him. And Kyogo, 14 games, 6 goals, and only 3 assists, but 9 goal contributions in total. James, that gives you a combined 38 goal contributions by Celtic's front three alone. It's impressive numbers.
Not by accident. This is Brendan Rodgers at work. This is what he wants, and he wants it from the midfield as well, and he's getting that. It's great to see. Kuhn in particular is just, jeez, oh man. I actually thought he was man of the match on Saturday, but you can't take the match ball off the hat-trick guy. And Hatate must have been very close to it as well. He was outstanding.
I thought Hatate was just different level.
A dream to watch.
Different level.
We'll get to him in just a second, but before we move off, Paddy, I want to ask you, Celtic have now played 16 games this season. How many goals?
45.
46.
47?
You had to say that. 50. So it's an average of 3.12 goals a game.
Cheers, lads.
And it's just as you say, it's Brendan Rodgers at work, and it's testament to how well we're playing. And we discussed this a number of weeks ago. Is the football now more enjoyable than it was under Ange?
No.
Okay. But it's certainly up there, Paddy. That's
a show finished there.
It's exciting to watch, isn't it?
It's been excellent. I think, you know, if we keep that up, then you're looking at 150 goals if it continues for the end of the season.
Try to do some maths here.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll show you the numbers after.
Yeah.
It's just been a joy to watch. I think we're talking about Daizen Maeda there and the performance he puts in Saturday. Every player in the park was outstanding.
Yeah.
Nicholas Kuhn especially, just a real joy to watch. And actually, I've seen a couple of posts on Twitter from looks like people that are keeping an eye on him over in Europe that are basically saying the resurgence in this guy is really exciting to see, and actually there'll be a few German teams potentially sniffing at him next summer as well.
Well, they can sniff away.
Yeah, they can sniff away, absolutely. But I think it's testament to him, how he's come in, how he's kind of felt the pressure straight away in his career, and then just kicked on. Had a good summer, looked really, really strong going into that Man City pre-season game, and just the confidence is flowing at the moment. But one player that doesn't get a shout out, it should, is Arne Engels with 2 assists.
I thought he was brilliant.
2 assists on Saturday as well. He's just, listen, see if he goes about doing his job, and he's not always going to be the main man in every game, but he's again coming away with another couple of assists. He's only going to get stronger.
I think it's mad that some folks have been quite keen and quite vocal about him not justifying his price tag and all these kind of things. It's hard for any player in modern football to justify these crazy X million pound figures. All you can do is hope that he turns up more often than not. And I think he's had a couple of quiet games, but he's shown all his class, hasn't he?
He'll be one of the most important players this season, and I think the most important player next season. He's grown with every game. You know, Dortmund hit him a wee bit of a dip. His family's with that game. That'll have been a bit of a knock to the confidence. But, you know, he steadied the ship and got himself back together. He's been great the last couple of games, and I thought he was fantastic on Saturday. So just have to calm down, let the boy do his stuff.
Absolutely. I think there's loads of fans that in any team that have that moment where they call a player out, just hoping for that I told you so matter later on down the line. Yeah. But for me, Arne Engels is someone who is just going to get stronger and stronger. I felt that on Saturday, just the sheer determination to get to that ball for Kuhn's assist as well. Just he's really, really taking it on his stride. I think he'll be a massive player for us tomorrow night. I really do.
I also think he looks like he's enjoying it.
Aye.
You know, he looks like he's fitting in with the group very well. I don't know if you've seen the unique angle from the weekend. And actually, as a collective, Celtic there looks like a lot of unity there amongst the players. You know, like everyone to a man is up, you know, celebrating and high-fiving and all that kind of stuff. No more than Auston Trusty, who we'll get to in the next section of the show.
Exciting.
But from Arne Engels' point of view, I think he, as a young man, he's just turned 21, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he's pretty much taken it in his stride. I would ask the question, though, I think he will go on to be a huge success for Celtic, and he'll go for a right few quid whenever that comes to be. But do you think Nicholas Kuhn might be our biggest asset at this moment in time?
Hard to tell. I still think that obviously, given Kyogo's age, I'd say that value might start to come down, of course. But I just think for what Kyogo has on offer and what he's done for us, I'd say he's probably, like, if he was to go in that summer there, maybe he would have went for just roughly around the same as Matt O'Reilly. Kuhn needs to do this for a full season, I think, and I'm taking nothing away for the start that he's had. I mean, 10 assists is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But what we need to see is that longevity. Is he going to be in the team consistently enough? Is he going to get through a season without injury? And we know that wingers are susceptible more than others, but I think that we need to see one full season from him, look at it at the end of it, and if there's a queue for him at the end of it, then we'll see what figure Celtic want.
He certainly found that consistency over the 16 appearances so far. And as you say, the 10 assists, his job primarily is to assist, and he's doing that, and then he's chipping in with some great goals. If you mentioned Reo Hatate, no goals at the weekend, no assists either, but you could certainly argue that he was a driving force behind Celtic's win.
Football is watched with your eyes. If you watch football with your eyes, you'll see, I mean, he's just such a graceful player, but there's not many players in the team, and you don't see many players in modern football take the ball in such tight positions as Reo Hatate. He takes such responsibility on the pitch all the time. He must be such a dream to play with, because the team are so confident and fizzing passes into him, even when there are 2 or 3 players round about him, and he's scanning constantly. He's happy to take it in tight. He's happy to move it on quickly. His vision's just something else. I just love him. Absolutely love him.
James, you'd mentioned a couple of candidates for man of the match on Saturday, but Hatate must have been in the discussion.
Oh, right up there. I mean, if that was a kind of a 1-0, 2-0 finish, then you're looking to who is playing rather than guys that scored all the goals and stuff. And he was probably the most influential player. Everything seemed to go through him. That one for, I think it was the third goal, where he just hooks this ball. He's facing his own goal and he managed to hook it out to the wing. It's just outstanding. And we've been waiting for this. This is him back.
When we seen the famous quote of his pass completion rate or attempted passes last season, when it was a bit of a question mark over him by some, what you see from that is he tries that same pass in every single game, and he's not far off with it, and when it comes off, it looks absolutely brilliant. He wants to try those moments because it breaks up play so quickly.
It gets you so far up the pitch.
Exactly. It's how quickly it gets you in the opposition goal. It's so intelligent, but it's brave as well. Really brave. I just love him.
I also think it's on instruction. So you might have heard Brendan Rodgers' post-match where he's up with...
So Rodgers would take credit for that? That sounds about right.
He was up with Michael Stewart and all these guys, and they were talking about they were talking about the moment where he kicked the ball and fell, and he said he was frustrated at that point in the game because guys were taking 3, 4 and 5 touches for something they could do in 1 and 2. And I think Hatate making that kind of pass is what he's encouraged to do by the manager, and it's when he takes extra touch that Rodgers gets frustrated. And I don't think Rodgers cares too much about Hatate's pass completion rate if he's continuing to make the brave passes, because those brave passes, that one that you talked about, it was for the third goal, they're the ones that change games, and they're the ones that take you forward, particularly when you might be in a game that's on a knife edge. You need brave players, and Reo Hatate is one of them.
I think most teams in world football, if Hatate takes that ball in, facing his own goal, and palms it off to Alistair Johnson, Cal McGregor, Auston Trusty, whoever, that's absolutely fine, and then they go and build a move. I think Rodgers would be looking at Hatate after the game and saying, what are you doing that for when we know you can do that? You need your mercurial talents like that to do the magical things.
That's the end of like certain careers for some players. See the ones that want to come in and just keep it safe. David Turnbull's a good example of that. It wasn't too forward thinking.
Maybe that's why Iwata's not made it under Rodgers.
I could see that.
I thought
Doesn't
Iwata was
gamble
quite
enough.
tidy and didn't give much away, but maybe he needs more than that in his midfield.
Absolutely, you need to be able to try and play through those lines that Celtic are going to be up against most weeks domestically. It's even more congested, so you need players that are confident enough doing that from the middle of the park. Even better when you've got players that can do it from the back as well, which we'll come on to in the second part.
We'll speak about Auston Trusty soon.
Was it stuff, didn't it?
There's a good tweet doing the rounds. You shared it with us earlier, James. It's from Stuart Ross at Stuart Ross 89. Stuart does some good analysis stuff on Twitter, and it's just a clip, 3-4 minutes or whatever it is, just showing Reo Hatate, all his involvement from the weekend, and it's great to see. Obviously the win, it puts us up against Rangers in the League Cup final. That's on Sunday 15th of December at Hampden Park. Paddy, your thoughts ahead of that one?
Can't wait for it. I think as what we've spoke about, obviously Rodgers he's not seen defeat there. I think he'll want to keep that going. I like the League Cup being in this side of the year instead of it sprawling over into February, March when it used to. Excited for it. It's always a great day out, and I think that any time we're going to Hampden, I go back to 10 years ago. We never liked going to Hampden at all. It's became a second home. So, yeah, can't wait for it.
Yeah, and as I said at the top, 12 wins from 12 for Brendan Rodgers. Question for y'all. Celtic currently sit on 118 major honours. All versions of Rangers also sit on 118, whatever way you want to look at that. Should Celtic be going big and making a bit of noise about being the most successful club in Scotland, etc., if we go on to win this? Or is it just another League Cup and we just kick on and we don't even acknowledge it? What do you think? You going big?
Yes.
No way. No way.
What is football without a good old fashioned get up? That is why we play the game.
Does it play back into the myth though? Of the.
Who cares? They started it.
Aye, okay.
That sounds like a grown up
Who cares?
argument.
I love you.
Who cares?
started
Get
it.
up, yeah. That's but I mean, I get it, right? It's fairly juvenile, but as you know, I'm a very petty, horrible wee man.
The rumours are true.
Aye.
James, I'll come for you for potentially an alternative take on that.
That whole thing, a grown up take. That whole thing
No, I'll take it.
is born of insecurity because they know and we know that they know, right?
And I know that you know.
It's just ridiculous.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's not even statistically true. Even if you add both clubs and all that together, kind of thing, all versions of Rangers together, like there's, I think it's Reo Hatate in Egypt, maybe even at Linfield or something like that. There's clubs, so numerically it doesn't make sense. It's the most insecure, idiotic thing they may have ever done, and we shouldn't play any part of it.
But also, just on that point, sorry, I'd seen somebody on now some of the Celtic accounts post follow
meltdowns,
screenshots and stuff like that, and this boy has been at it 3 or 4 times. He's like, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be putting the lower leagues in.
I was brilliant.
But I think that's why I would like to make a deal, because it clearly is something of their psyche that is just so important to them.
We should explain that. Some Rangers fan has said, because we're equal on trophies now and he fears we may go ahead, that they should add in their 3rd division, 2nd division, blah blah blah. And this was his post, and the reply was, have to give the guy credit, he just said, please never say this in public.
it's out there now. Paddy, what do you think? If we do go on and win the League Cup in December, do you go big on the most successful team in Scotland?
Nah, you just keep going and try and win the treble. I'll celebrate it, absolutely, but I don't think I'll be letting off fireworks or running out in the street, or I don't think I'll be...
Bring some benches in.
Remember the boy that jumped in the back of a horse and rode down his garden with a flag saying, "Can you see us now?" Like, I mean, get a grip, guys.
I missed that.
We'll put the video up on Twitter, don't worry.
Do you think the club should remain professional? We shouldn't make any great noise.
The thing is, have we remained professional with little digs over the years? I think we like to kind of
half of nothing.
Turn the screw in a wee bit, and I don't see that being too different.
Tiger Tim no get sacked for saying "Ha Rangers get beat."
They get beat in Europe and
Might have been his first offence.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Good old Tiger.
I think he offered up that rosary or something for them after getting knocked out.
He was in Europe. Oh, minute silence. No, it was a minute silence. It was a minute silence. Rangers are out of Europe.
And then he played well. We see you again.
James, again, sensibly, just some quick comments on the game itself. Any fears at all going up against Rangers in December?
No, I mean, my dad was on the phone at half time yesterday. It was 1-0 Motherwell, and he was like, I think it's okay if Rangers come back on this. I think we could do them better than 7-1. So that's what he's looking for. That's what Liam wants.
7-1?
No, better than 7-1.
8-1?
So
I was in the strange position yesterday wanting Rangers to win purely because it would keep coming on the job.
I was wondering if they wanted to win. You know, you always want to be a final, but they could get an absolute doing.
I thought celebrations seemed quite muted amongst Rangers fans.
Well, there's only about 20,000 people there, so
yeah, strange. Anyway, I managed to blag some hospitality for the game, which was good fun. So I just want to thank Steve Maguire of the Fresh Fruit Shop in Uddingston and also Colin Wallace of the Bathroom Super Centre in Falkirk. Free advertising.
For the game yesterday.
What have we become?
You need to say Saturday.
Still
You
felt
sound as if
yesterday.
you were watching bloody Andy Halliday yesterday.
corporate
Definitely the
shells.
game on
Well done, Andy.
Oh,
My God.
I'm all right, Jack. I was there, lads. Anyway, I had a great time in
Did
hospitality.
we get some free fruit and
Fantastic.
veg?
I'll try and get you a wee pass for next time. I'll see what I can do for you. But
I'd take a ceramic tile.
thanks to Stephen and Colin for that one, and also thanks to Colin's mate James, who convinced me pre-match to put a fiver on 6-0 Celtic.
Aye, so you
Seen
did
that.
as
At
well.
45-1, so good shout to James.
Fantastic.
Finally, a shout out to Marky that I met outside with his two wee boys. Says he's a big fan of the show and it was great to chat to them after the game. Okay, let's take a short break. Hold on, what do you want?
Somebody else told me they were a fan of the show at the weekend, but I can't remember who it was.
Great.
So thank
I
you.
just get called the big podcaster by some guy
podcast
walking
guy.
by me. So thanks to you, mate.
Thanks to everyone. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at what seems to be Celtic's new back four. Welcome back, folks. On Saturday, two of Celtic's back four were summer signings in the shape of Auston Trusty and Alex Baye, with Liam Scales and Greg Taylor both having to settle for a place on the bench. So I'll come to you first, Miff. Do we expect this to be our back four moving forward this season under Brendan Rodgers?
I think it potentially yes is the answer, just based on the evidence we've seen so far. I think for both of them, they've come in, they seem to have a good grip on the system. Let's take the Dortmund game out of it, because that's clearly been just one of those nights where everything did go wrong, and we contributed to that. But I think with Trusty, you can see that he's grown with every game, and with him being quite a big lad, I think he's sort of a guy that would need a run of games to see the best out of him. The suspicion was that we would also see the best out of him when he played on the left-hand side as well. So I think there's a lot of factors running into that, and I do think it's very harsh on Liam Scales on the basis of if you perform at the level Liam Scales has been performing at, specifically this season, you can feel very hard done by about the team. But I heard a bit of your pre-match with Bridal, and Rodgers is pretty ruthless with these things.
Yeah, he stressed that he wasn't going to pick his team on sentimentality, and I think at that time he'll have known his team. In fact, everyone knows the team nowadays with the league. But
I think sentimentality would tap more into Taylor and Scales not being in the team, just because they've been fairly good servants over the past few years, specifically Taylor, but Scales more so in the last year. Level of performance has been outstanding this year in particular. So yeah, but that is the nature of football. It evolves and moves on. It doesn't mean there's not a place for them in the squad. It's whether through time they want to accept that. But I would love Taylor to stay, because I don't think you're going to get a better understudy there. But I think Baye just looks so exciting. He's for me, whilst Taylor has been excellent for Celtic, Baye looks to me like he is the prototype of the next evolution of someone in that position.
Yeah, he's really exciting. James, I'll stick with you with Trusty versus Scales at the moment. That's right, Scales has done very little wrong this season, and in fact he's improved. He's excelled at different times. He picked up another Champions League Man of the Match award, and he can find himself very hard done by, but this is it. This is the level. This is cutthroat Champions League football. And he was asked, I think it was Charlie Mulgrew that was asking the question after the game about that decision. Mulgrew stressed that he was a huge fan of Liam Scales, but Rodgers was asked specifically if Aberdeen's first goal in the 2-each draw recently played a part in which Liam Scales was maybe questionable for his pace, and Rodgers accepted that, yeah, pace played a part. And Trusty, we've seen it a few times now, he can shift, he can get around the park, and I just wonder at that level, you just need to go with the guys with the best assets to potentially see you through these tough games. And I think Trusty, particularly on his favoured left side, maybe just edges it from what we've seen.
Yeah, we signed Trusty for £6 million for a reason, and there was a bit of concern obviously from, I'd say most, if not all, Celtic fans that it wasn't looking like it when he was playing the right hand side. Hadn't many games under his belt. Dortmund had knocked him and everyone else for 6. You've got to feel for Liam Scales, of course you have, but you've got to bear in mind that this is Celtic and we need 4 strong centre halves. There's no shame in being the less chosen. I don't mean reserved, but less chosen, because we'll rotate that for different games, different tournaments, all that stuff. But if you look at the job spec for centre half at Celtic, it's not defender. It's not the game that Scales played against Atlanta isn't necessarily the job spec for a centre half at Celtic. It's defend, of course, but it's pace and it's coming out and starting attacks. You're the guy that starts Celtic's attacks. And I just don't think Scales has that on his CV. He has all the other attributes, but that isn't the job spec.
I totally agree with that, and there's a couple of things that will back it up. I don't know if you've seen the tweet from Ken. Do you know the guy I'm talking about on Twitter? Is it Celtic Park Ken? It's funny. I think he signs every single tweet off with Ken at the end of it. He must be at it. I like it. Anyway, he posted a video, and it was about a specific moment in the second half where Trusty gets the ball. He's under a bit of pressure from a couple of Aberdeen forwards, and most defenders in most cases would go back to the goalie. And as we spoke about earlier on with Hatate, that's not the way at Celtic. It comes to him slightly at an angle as well, but he opens his body up and he pops it into the maybe Hatate, but certainly one of the midfielders, and all of a sudden Celtic have broken the lines, they're on the attack. It's something that I don't think Liam Scales does. I'd really like Liam Scales. I think he's a brilliant defender. I don't think he's got that move in his locker. And all of a sudden you've got Trusty, who can either break the lines with a pass like that or with his own pace, the way that we used to see guys like Christopher Ayer doing it. I think he's possibly got that in his locker as well. But I just think he gives us so much more going forward, Paddy.
Yeah, it's... listen, I've been vocal on it for a long time. I think Liam Scales has been excellent this season. But again, we go back to those moments where we're saying we really need that quality to take us to the next level. And I still think it's early days for Auston Trusty. I think a very, very good performance against Atalanta, but we've seen already just what a left-sided defender who's comfortable in playing the ball out from the back is doing for us. 6-0 speaks volumes from how quick we were in the transition on Saturday. That comes from playing those forward passes. I think back to the amount of games that I've seen where there's been a hesitancy and it even gone out to our left winger. It's maybe just been then recycled across the back line out to the right. That pulls that away. And yeah, it is difficult for Liam Scales, and no... obviously, I have been vocal on him before. I have said that I don't think he's at the level required for Celtic. But I do think the manager sees the same. I do. I think he's been used to almost be a bit of an example to the likes of Lagerbielke and Nawrocki last season. This is the level of commitment and determination that you need. And he was brilliant for us, but he almost cost us in some games as well. I think back to the Aberdeen semi-final. And I look at the performances where he has picked up Champions League man in the matches, and it's been backs to the wall. How good would it be if you've got a defender that can defend back to the wall, but also be that little bit more composed, bringing the ball out as well?
And we've seen both sides for Trusty.
We have.
Weeks,
Listen, I agree with you, James. I think Liam Scales will be in and out this team this season, especially if we want to keep players fresh for the bigger games that we're going to have, and especially in the position we're in the Champions League as well. He's not out. But I do think that Trusty will settle in and be the mainstay.
I also think it's got to be healthy that nobody is assured of their position. There's got to be competition all across the park, and I think we agree we can upgrade in certain areas. We'll maybe cover it a wee bit in terms of maybe a backup for CCV, maybe some alternatives in the wings, but generally speaking, there's some pretty decent coverage across the squad. I just want to ask you quickly if you've seen the moment between Trusty and Kyogo after Kyogo got his goal. Again, I think it's in the unique angle. Kyogo was doing his thing, enjoying his celebration and stuff, and Trusty came up to him, and you can see him signalling, I think it's let's get a third or a fourth, or something like that. Kyogo's goal that he nearly missed. But not quite.
No, come on,
No, just showed for the fans.
He's cracked the bar for 7 yards.
Aye.
He's made sure it's away for his defender and goalkeeper.
Aye, the
Great finish.
goalie's coming across him. Aye.
Just saying what I've seen.
Yeah.
Anyway,
From your
And the
heated seat.
hospitality.
I couldn't see
Absolutely
two
Sell me a
of
bag of veg and a pack of tiles. Well done, mate.
the where was I going with that? You've lost me. Oh, aye. So Trusty, I thought it was good because he wasn't resting on his laurels. He was keen to G up Kyogo to try and get a third and fourth goal. And I just thought it showed a guy who's now comfortable wearing a Celtic shirt and feels very much part of the squad. Miff, Alex Bailly, I know you're keen to speak about him. And I think it's fair to say, and I know you're a huge Greg Taylor fan, but I think moving forward, as in moving forward up the park, Alex Bailly just seems to have more about him. And to James's point, Celtic in a game like Saturday, you're going to have the lion's share of possession. I think it was 70% to 30, by the way. And at Celtic Park, it was 71% to 29. Aberdeen, and Bridle picked up on this in the pre-match, are a side who seemed quite happy to concede possession. Rangers had 60% against them at Pittodrie during the week. They're quite happy to let Celtic and Rangers have the ball. And on that note, the challenge for Alex Bailly or whoever's left back on the night, it isn't really defending too much. It's about what you do going forward, and it's how you create. And I think from that point of view, Alex Bailly was always going to be the choice for this game.
Yeah, I think in fairness, Taylor, he's not long returned for injury. He's only had one game, and Bailly has been producing fairly decent performances in that time. So I just like the way he gets on the ball, how he addresses the ball. There's tremendous technique there. He's happy to get involved. There's been a few assists from him as well. He's happy to get involved in the attacking end, but I also think he's quite sturdy defending as well. He's really athletic and he's getting about the pitch really well. So dare I say, he's been able to watch Taylor before him and see what the demands are of playing the role. Taylor's done it well, albeit maybe at the top level, susceptible defensively. I think we would all admit that. But that's not to say he's not been an outstanding servant for Celtic over the past few years. But again, it comes back to what we want as a group of fans. We always want to get better, and I think what Bailly's shown us is that with the style that we play, that there are players out there of his ilk that we can afford, that are within our reach, that we can bring in to make us better. And if that's the case, then let's go for it.
Yeah, definitely. James, I'll ask your thoughts on Bailly and also the back four we've seen line up on Saturday. Is that, in your opinion, our strongest back four?
100%. Yeah, I think that's two huge upgrades in two positions they needed upgraded. It's as simple as that.
Cool.
Thanks for that, James.
Anything more on Bailly to add to Miff's comments?
I think Bailly himself has been a bit of a revelation. He's been fantastic. He is, as you said, the profile of, was it yourself or Paddy said, the profile of what we're looking for in the left back. He's sturdy, he can get forward. There was one bit on Saturday where he was a bit sloppy in possession, lost the ball, harried the guy, chased him down to the D, got the ball back off him, started an attack. And that's really the kind of drive you're looking for. But he's way more than just a left back. His movement is outstanding. When he's looking to support Daizen Maeda, he's not just like putting himself in a position saying, just pass to me. He's reading the game and deciding, should I overlap Daizen? Should I go inside him? And then seeing how the move develops. I think he's a really smart player. Obviously, he's come out of Massey and stuff like that. He can't be bad.
There's a lot of folks on Twitter saying, what a surprise that a young kid who spent years at Barcelona's academy seems to have
Since
something
he was
about
like 7 years old or something.
There's plenty of field, but there's a boy playing with Dundee United that was part of La Masia as well. From potentially Macedonia. I can't remember. No.
We're at McGlinchey, no?
Aye. Very good.
But it's good.
Babinski, there you go.
It's good. It's good grounding, and you must be getting taught a lot technically. You can see he's just technically a very gifted footballer. It remains to be seen, Paddy, what the future holds for Bailly. I know Barca extended his deal by a year, but just to protect the asset, I think whether he gets back in there or not. Somebody was talking in our group chat, James, is it Baldy that plays left back for Barca just now? Yeah. And they're saying they're not particularly convinced by him. So whether that opens the door for Bailly, I don't know, but he's shown signs that he's capable of playing at a seriously high level. But the encouraging thing from a Celtic point of view, and there is suggestions that we can get him for a €3 million release clause, is that he seems to be loving life at Celtic Park.
Yeah, he does. But the thing is, if the performances keep up and more teams become aware of him,
should we tell him to rein it in a bit?
we should tell him to calm down.
Give it away a few more times.
Aye, absolutely. Except defeat tomorrow. I think he is going to get stronger. I think he is buying into the system at the moment and really, really enjoying just that run of games that he's probably not really had anywhere else. I think it's now this consistency starting to kind of come out for him. He's starting to understand how Maeda's going to move for him, how his midfielder's going to move for him. Again, I think credit to Reo Hatate for his performance. A lot of that comes from where he's getting the ball, who's providing that ball to him. We look at the two left-hand side defenders on Saturday. That's a big element in how Reo Hatate plays as well. The worry is that we have Greg Taylor and Alice Baye at the end of the season. We have no one.
I know.
That's the thing we need to be careful
They're
of.
both out of contract with Celtic in May.
It's on the list. You could have none of them in summer.
Exactly, but no, it's exciting to see. It really is. I think he's a good player. I seen there was a article in a Spanish newspaper talking about how Celtic have treated him on his arrival. They've helped him settle in very quickly. He spoke about the transition being seamless as well. Fluent in English as well, which I really
spoke to him at the press conference.
Oh, good friends with Alex. Yeah, your pal.
Hospitality press conferences, eh?
That's
the life.
That's
the
boy.
life.
We are.
Should get a photo of the two.
He does seem like a really grounded young guy, but he seems ambitious, and he's here to play Champions League games. He's here to play against Leipzig and everything else, that surrounds it. And I think it's clear that he's bought into what the club are doing. But he must enjoy his role under Brendan Rodgers because he has an attack-minded fullback, so he could join a variety of clubs where they'll just stick him at left back and that's where he stays. Whereas with Celtic, you can roam forward, you're inverted at different times, and I just think it looks like he's really comfortable and enjoying the system.
Yeah, if you think of the grounding he's had, Barcelona, to then come into a system at Celtic where you are going to enjoy so much of the ball, be able to express yourself, have a bit of creative licence, but also need to show a robust side to you as well for his development. It's pretty much the perfect place to be. So to get that exposure at European level, Champions League level, be winning games, be contributing, assisting, I just think it's a match made in heaven. I would just like to think that there is an end game for us in it as well. Whilst it's great that he plays his part for us and we develop him, that's fantastic, but you would like to think that we're ambitious enough that we've looked at him and said, this guy's for us.
Yeah, I think we'll have the whole Jota CCV summer that we had after their first season. It's well, they won't they? He's on Instagram, he's over in the States, he's doing this, he's doing that. But we'll see what happens. Last question just on Celtic's defence for now. I think we're all agreed that that's our best back four, and I think it should be the back four that starts against Leipzig. But do we still have a wee gap with CCV? If he gets injured, the two left backs was a wee bit questionable at times. Sorry, the two left footed centre backs maybe didn't quite work as well as we'd hope. Do you think we do like a bit of cover for CCV?
Yes, because I think it was James that mentioned it earlier. You want 4 strong centre halves. I think Stephen Welsh just hasn't played regularly enough. His body does seem to let him down a bit as well. He's always picking up kind of niggles and injuries. And then Navrocki, just it's not got to happen, is it? No. So that means we're short. Yeah. We need one more, and I think we expected that to have been the whole centre half kind of merry-go-round. We expected that maybe to be dealt with in the summer around more bodies out and maybe a bit of freshness in. It hasn't happened. Maybe Rodgers is happy enough with having Welsh there. You can only assume that. I know he takes up the quota for the Champions League, homegrown player, all that type of thing. But for me, I think we're missing a strong fourth centre half. It's just the conundrum is who's going to come and maybe they're not going to play that often. It's
a hard sell, isn't it, James, for Brendan Rodgers to someone who's of a decent level to say, come on and play back up to this guy. But again, that's the level we're at. But James, your final comments on Celtic's defensive options at this moment in time?
Yeah, I think it's just that. We're quite well covered. I love Tony Ralston, so I'm always happy having him there for covering Alistair Johnson, who's playing out his skin, by the way. Alistair Johnson's
flying.
Aye. Taylor's good cover for Baye, but precarious in terms of the season or the end of the season. We're fine at the left hand side. It is just that, and I think it's the perfect option would be we find some 17-year-old Scottish like kid who wants to develop and improve, because that's the only way you can get somebody to accept that kind of position. But then is that good for their development as well? It's a real conundrum, and you don't really want. Do you want to sign a centre half that's come to the end of his career? Because if CCV's injured, then you get somebody that's maybe not quite as nimble as they should be. It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. We don't have the answers, do we?
We don't.
No.
I know who does.
Paul Tisdale.
Tom Ford.
Tom Ford. He knows everything.
Football doctor.
Yeah. Let's take another short break. When we come back, we'll play this week's Mystery Goal Scorer. Welcome back, folks. We'll begin the final section of this week's show, as always, by playing Name the Goal Scorer. The rules, for anyone who doesn't yet know, dead simple. We'll play a clip from a notable Celtic goal, but the goal scorer's name has been beeped out from commentary, and all you have to do is name the goal scorer in question. Before we kick on, let's reveal last week's answer by playing the clip in full.
The last minute of the 90. Callum McGregor's corner. Boyata knocks it down. Brown! Deflected, but the captain will be having that one again. This is what champions do. Celtic.
What's up?
I'll let you finish this, but I've got a story about that one.
Give us an answer to the score.
Never was the time. I was going to say, you weren't here last week, did you?
No, I wasn't here.
Did you listen to the shows you always do when you're not on?
Of course not.
No.
Love your honesty, mate. Thanks
Just
very
to clarify, the goal in question, 17th of February 2019, Celtic won, Kilmarnock now, Scott Brown, # Scott Brown won the league at Rugby Park. He got a second yellow for celebrating, so that was him, sent off right at the death, but I don't think it mattered in the bigger picture. The result on the night, it put us 8 points clear after Rangers had drawn nothing each with St Johnstone the day before, and we did, of course, go on to clinch 8 in a row. Brendan Rodgers, Muff, left Celtic just a week and a couple of days after that win. But your thoughts on Scott Brown and on that time in Celtic history, and your wee story, if you've got something.
Yes, I recall. I was at the game. Tickets for Kill used to be plentiful when you get both stands. Was there with my oldest boy, and was sitting right down the front, and ended up on the top of the shelter, right down the front. Aye.
Is that not disabled?
Yes.
Right, cool.
Aye, not my finest moment, but such was the absolute furore. There was people flying about everywhere. It was, but again, because that heightened expectation, Rangers dropping the points, and then also it being Bruni as well. It was that was a phenomenal wee trip. That brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Paddy, your own recollections from that?
A great game. Was also there. Just loved every minute of it. I remember kind of thinking that we were maybe going to chuck it and deal with the draw, but it was just, you even hear the fans in that clip there. Everyone was just like edging them on, like just supporting
was a
them. It
willingness,
was like, come on, we can do
willingness.
this. You think back to the following season as well. We have that goal against Hamilton with Scott Brown as well. Just the final moments of a game, he came up with a few, didn't he?
Did you hear the stat that the BBC came up with it during the week, that Celtic have now been unbeaten in midweek league games going back to March 2015. It's 38 games, which will include that Scott Brown against Accies, for example. James, just very quickly, your thoughts. I mean, not that Celtic need any more kind of coverage on Scott Brown and what he done for the club, but your general thoughts on the importance of Bruni at that time and all times at Celtic.
Oh, it was, and my phone like this, but Rodgers was a big part of that, because Bruni was heading for
what
the
I was going to
badges.
say, anything notable about that? It's the last away game where I actually liked Brendan Rodgers.
Of course, that's what it
There
is.
you go.
So notable milestone.
Glad we can relive those memories for you.
Well, it's been fantastic. I've loved it.
Bruni was doing the Lars and the badges and all that stuff, and Rodgers came in and just said, look, you've got far too much to offer this team as a player, so chuck that, that's not going anywhere, you can pick that up. And he duly did, and he's obviously going on to start his kind of career in management. So I think what Rodgers then gave us was just a fully revitalised, fully refreshed Bruni that took us all the way in those seasons. He was phenomenal.
Great to see, and another big night for him there. Okay, let's take a listen to this week's Mystery Goal Scorer. Let's run the clip.
Well, now a huge 12 minutes for Celtic to see if they can turn this around, because it's Leipzig and Salzburg who are in control in the group. But here goes Trusty, look at... Well, the challenge was set down for these Celtic players, and they have just answered the call. That is how to respond. Incredible.
deserve it tonight. The performance, they've shown bravery and courage. It's really well worked. Dynamic Christie drives into the box. What an impact.
Paddy gave me the knowing nod first, Miff, so I'm going to come to Paddy, see if he's got the right answer.
I don't need to say it. You don't need to edit this one.
I love beeping it out, just say it.
His goal music tells all.
Did you have it?
Aye.
We'll come back
I
next
was
week, obviously, and chat. You did it a lot of games at this time. We'll cover it in a bit more detail, but a big one on the night, and you thought it was a very deserved one as well.
It was. I didn't make that game, and I'll get a bit of a slag in here. I was at a Lily Allen concert with my wife.
We can always cut that out for you.
No, I'll take the hit. I'll take the hit.
We'll cover that goal in a bit more detail next week, and we'll reveal the goal scorer at the time. We'll also share the clip on our socials for anyone who wants to have a go there. To see out the show, I want to take a short look at Leipzig ahead of this one tomorrow night at Celtic Park. We'll be doing a full match preview, which will go out early tomorrow, Tuesday morning. But we're keen to get the thoughts at the moment while we're all in the room. So I'll come to you first, Paddy. What's your thoughts ahead of what will be another very tough game in the Champions League?
Yeah, just as tough as the other two that we've just played there against Dortmund and Atalanta. I think they've been playing really, really good football in the league at the moment. And yeah, all right, they've not taken any points so far in the Champions League, but I've said before in the show that it's Juventus, Atletico Madrid and Liverpool that they've played, so they've had a bit of a difficult run. That could have been us. But we're in this position now where, you know, we will fancy our chances tomorrow night, especially at a packed Celtic Park. We've ran some teams close there quite frequently over the last few times in the Champions League, and I think we kind of tap into the energy from the game against Atletico last year, where we were unlucky. We were unlucky not to get the 3 points, but we were well deserving of the point. A draw would be brilliant tomorrow night. I think it would be an incredible result, but I know Rodgers will want the win. I think we'll go for the win.
James, to Paddy's point, I think there's going to be high energy at Celtic Park tomorrow night, least of all because of the big result of the weekend. But Paddy's right, they've faced Liverpool, they lost 1-0, Juve, they lost 3-2, and Atletico Madrid 2-1, so they're just being edged out by some pretty decent sides. They did also lose 2-1 to Dortmund at the weekend, and that was their first loss in the league in 19 games. They currently sit second in the Bundesliga, just 3 points behind Bayern Munich. It's as tough as they come. You know, this is a top level European side. All of a sudden, you know, they get investment over the years, and whatever way you want to look at it, whether you agree with that or not, through the whole Red Bull thing, they're a big club, and it's going to be a real tough task.
Yeah, we've been here before with them. You know, they're a top team, top manager as well. Very, very fast, and that's, you know, that's Celtic in Europe playing against fast teams and getting overrun. You know,
Shivered when you said that there.
Aye, is that the first minute? Right, cool. So yeah, but we know that there's an interesting thing going on with Celtic in Europe under Rodgers, and Rodgers gaslighting the face off you, telling you he's not changed a thing, and he absolutely has, and all that stuff.
Part the boss and all that.
Well, no, but he hasn't, right? But he's definitely tightened things up, and he's, you know, you pointed out quite clearly that players were pressing individually, not in packs. That alone, and the fact that Kuhn was, you know, not just posted up in the corner himself. You know, so obviously it changed. But the interesting thing I've seen a couple of times on Twitter and a couple of message boards and stuff, if we lose in Dortmund 1-0, right, Rodgers thinks game plan's perfect. We probably don't take any changes to Atalanta. We don't learn from what we learned in Atalanta, and then we come into Leipzig tomorrow night with no real lessons learned. We learned from Dortmund, we learned from Atalanta, and we take those learnings into the game tomorrow night, in that we can score goals. We could have scored goals against Atalanta, you know, but it was more important to get the point. So I think it makes for a really interesting tie tomorrow. I think we will keep it pretty tight. It'll be a similar game plan to Atalanta, but you're at home, so it gives you a wee bit more freedom to attack when you get the opportunities. I think we'll win it by the 1 goal.
By the 1 goal. Miff, what do you think the players have learned from the sore defeat in Dortmund, but the really confidence-boosting draw at Atalanta?
Well, Callum McGregor said after the game, I think the theory or the feeling, sentiment in the dressing room was that they had been brutally punished for every mistake that they made. I'd say that's somewhat true, but I think you can also look at the goalkeeper having a fairly decent evening as well. You know, we conceded a lot of chances in that game. Every time Dortmund went forward, you thought they were going to score. Ultimately, I think what we've learned is there is a structure and a way to play that can still allow you to be creative. It will still offer you opportunities, as the Atalanta game showed, as the Dortmund game showed as well. You know, we did have some serious chances in the Dortmund game. We created 6 or 7 absolute, you know, clear cut chances. Atalanta has probably been more just decision making in the final third, that we could have either shot, cut back, whatever it might be. But the way of playing is showing that yes, it's hard work, and it's always going to be hard work because you're going up levels. But we do have the quality there to create chances and take them. So for me, I think it's about understanding the structure and the kind of risk-reward balance that we need to strike. And I think that's just, that to me is maturity. It's maturity for playing at the level. It's not going ridiculously gung-ho. It's not also parking the bus. It's, you know, what triggers when you press, what triggers when you can break forward, what triggers when you can push up, all those things. You know, and in fairness to Rodgers, he has always sought to be successful at this level over a sustained period of time. It's never quite worked for him for different reasons, as we spoke about. But you get the feeling now that the confidence he has from being backed to a level is now transmitting down into the team. And the team, despite the Dortmund reverse, are now feeling like, wait a minute here, as galling as the Dortmund reverse was, we belong at this level. We've been brought to Celtic to play at this level. You know, the fans will pack the place out Tuesday night, and we're on this kind of wee roll of momentum. And I think also very telling is, we talk about the schedule, we talk about the grueling nature of the games, we talk about the levels. We've come off the back of a really tough game at the weekend with probably our best performance of the season. So it tells you that he's shuffling his pack well. He's getting the most out of the players now. You know, we couldn't be going into this with any better a mindset. So for me, I think the game will be a draw just because of the quality of the opposition we're playing.
Okay.
But in many ways, you know, what will make or break our qualification is yet to come. So as far as I'm concerned, I think tomorrow you go and you try and impose a style of playing the game. You play with a bit of savvy and just see where it takes you. And it's very feasible we could win the game, I think. But I think it'll be a draw because I think Leipzig will also fancy it. They'll have looked at their fixtures and said, that's one we need to pick up points from.
Especially now.
Given how their games have went. So, do you know what? This is what we all wanted.
Yeah.
Everyone is. Everybody associated with the club. This is what we all wanted. Yeah. We're actually in a position where we are competing. The draw at Atalanta shows that. They've just turned up to Napoli and turned them over at home.
Seen that. Yeah.
3-0.
So, you know, we're there. We're in there pitching. It's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's there to be enjoyed. Just in terms of those fixtures, so our next 4 games beyond this, 3 of our next 4 are at home, including this one. But after the game on Tuesday night, we've got Bruges at home, Dynamo Zagreb away, and then in the turn of the year, Young Boys at home and Villa away. Leipzig have got a couple of toughies after us. They've got Inter away from home, then Villa at home, and then they've got Sporting Lisbon, managerless Sporting Lisbon, who's now, what's his name again? Amari. And Sturm Graz. But they will definitely look at this one against Celtic and think this is a real opportunity for us to get what would be our first points on the board. But Paddy, to Miff's point, I think Celtic have been managed very well by Brendan Rodgers since the defeat in Dortmund, because that's where a manager really earns his pennies. How do you pick up a team that's just lost 7 goals, particularly a team that's not used to losing it by any such margin? And we had the kind of narrow win against Ross County, and then a variety of games since, right up until the game at the weekend, which was a real confidence booster. How confident did the players go into this one, given all that's gone before it?
Yeah, I think after that game in Atalanta, you know that you can really battle up against the best, and it was backs to the wall. But I think as James said, that probably that last 20 minutes when Atalanta kind of looked as if they were out of some ideas and they looked as if they were starting to tire, we could have actually put the foot in the gas a wee bit more, but opted for the point. But there was a couple of chances between 70 and 80 minutes. I think tomorrow you're kind of thinking about they will need to come and try and get the points. It's a bad start for them. They want to see themselves as a big team in Europe, and against the opposition that they've been up against, it's not worked out for them at all. But I think tomorrow night they have to come at us. I don't see any other option, and if they do that, that's where I think we're at our most clinical.
I was going to say, does their need for points play right into Celtic's hands? We can break with real pace.
We can break with real pace, but what we need to make sure is, again, we're closing those gaps up. We need to move as a team. And we didn't do that in Dortmund at all. There's probably just a bit of hesitation from our back line. Well, a lot of hesitation from our back line. But the gap between the back line and the middle was the big cause for the game against Dortmund. I think tomorrow it's a bit different. I think that we try and soak up as much as we possibly can to kick off with. But I think in the counter, Celtic will be really threatening. Yeah,
it's a massive game and one to look forward to. James, do you think we'll edge it by the odd goal and 1-0 or 2-1, do you think?
2-1.
I think 2-1 as well. Heart and head and all that stuff, but I'm going 2-1. Miff, what you at?
1 each.
1-0 Celtic.
Would you take a draw?
Absolutely. Bite their hand off for
That was an excellent.
If we get a draw, we're knocking the door. We really are.
Yeah. And Carter Vickers said that if we get the win, we're just about there. So the players are obviously believing in themselves and feeling that we can progress in this group. So let's see, another really exciting night at Celtic Park.
Just very quickly, is there a projection of what point? Is it too early to
10?
9 and 10 seems to be the calculator has said, and the computer's been running. This is what it says. So
we're unlucky.
We're on 4 just now with 5 games to go. You're in the mix, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, if you get 3 points, you're sitting in 7. You would struggle to not qualify. But it's Celtic in Europe.
No. I know.
We can do it.
There's always that. Let's see how it all plays out tomorrow night. Just a quick additional item. I spoke to Celtic author and historian Matt Corr last week about his new book, Celtic in the 30s. It's a 2-parter. Both books are available this week. It comes out tomorrow, Tuesday, 5th of November. You'll get it at CelticStarBooks.com or in Celtic stores. And given that it's about Celtic in the 30s, it covers Jimmy McGrory, Johnny Thompson, Willie Maley, and a whole lot more. And Matt tells these stories in a really interesting and exciting way. It describes it as a decade of triumph and tragedy. If you want to check out that chat with Matt Corr, you'll get that on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Paddy, I'll come to you for your final comments for the week.
Yeah, just an exciting few weeks that it's been there for us. I think October, bar that Dortmund result, was a pretty solid month for us. We've built a bit of momentum. Maeda scoring, Kyogo scoring, Kuhn scoring bodes well for us for tomorrow night. And I think that it would be a nice way just to kick on for this Champions League campaign we're going and trying to get the 3 points tomorrow. But yeah, another cup final as well. Just been a very successful month in my opinion.
Yeah, I got to agree. James?
A sneaky ticket request, but not for me. Big Collins over from Dublin in December 7th Hibs game. So if anyone is
look at this guy.
If anyone is going to the Christmas shopping that day or off to Lapland or whatever, and you want a couple of bob for your ticket, let me know.
There you go.
So I'll the DMs are open, James. We'll see what happens. My final word goes to you.
plugs? Ticket requests. Jeez. No, I would agree with Paddy. Been fantastic. 5:30 kickoffs on a Saturday are just fantastic. They're just so good.
Would you change it for that permanent if you could?
So no permanent. I don't think that'd be a good thing. But yeah, I just can't tell you how much I enjoyed the semi-final. I think as well because there was a wee point to prove, and we did that. Rangers again in a cup final. I think the only thing that can really beat us is complacency, and you would like to think that under this regime that's not going to happen, especially when there is bragging rights to play for some anyway, at least. But I must say it is a lot of fun supporting Celtic just now, and I'm so glad of the era that I get to go and watch Celtic. I get to take my boys. There's always a big game coming up. It's just absolutely fantastic, and we're all on again Tuesday night against Leipzig.
Yeah, do you know one to look
fire up the disco lights?
Big one to look forward to, cup final in December, but plenty to also enjoy between now and then. So that wraps things up on the latest Celtic Exchange Weekly. Thanks to James, Paddy and Miff, and thanks to you for tuning in. As mentioned, the Leipzig pre-match will be available early Tuesday ahead of the game, and we'll then be back on Wednesday to review the game. We'll also have a pre- and post-match show later in the week for Sunday's league clash with Killie at Rugby Park. And finally, don't forget to check out the CelticExchange.supercast.com, where you can help us bring you even more Celtic this season. But in the meantime, as always, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.